All right, you guys, let's go ahead and get started today and see if we can hopefully find some nice opportunities. So far this morning, it's been pretty slow. I have one break even, I have one win, and I have one loss. So, I mean, it's pretty much sideways. Minuscule red on the day, just super small, and just, again, not much opportunity in pre-market. So, gonna have to see what we can find going into the open today. We'll run through the gap scans, see what we can get. And hopefully, there is something out there for us. Let me get the screen up. But yeah, so right now for the day, just teeny tiny red on the day after a loss in pre-market. Not much opportunity so far. The gappers have been super weak. So we'll have to see. There's a few setups that I like on the nightly watch list, but as far as the pre-market gappers go, there's really not too much out there that I love a whole lot. So we'll run through the gappers real quick and see kind of what we're working with for the day. But for the most part, there's really not too many significant gappers that I really care to look at. Anything with some actual substance, there's really not a whole lot of. So MLGO here is one of my favorites for the day. I haven't gotten to play it yet, but it's really not even a bad look here off of VWAP. If you want to watch this off of 424, this is actually a pretty nice look for a curl back up into that range to the upside around like 5 to 520. And that's on MLGO. So MLGO actually looks pretty good here on the pullback to VWAP. Heading back into the open to play this little range here. So it actually reclaimed the 420s. And it's setting up pretty nicely for the move back up into the 5s here. So not a bad look off of VWAP if you do want to play a little scalp on this. Not too bad. And you can probably catch a move back up into the 5s on MLGO. But again, right now there's just not much opportunity out there at all. So it's been super slow. You know, it's been extremely slow. And it's just one of those things where it is what it is. So whenever there's opportunity, we strike. Whenever there's not, we just have to know when to sit back. Just like yesterday, we sat back pretty much all day. We took, I think 5 trades, 6 trades. Ended up being our super small day. We had some nice wins in the afternoon as well. So we'll have to see what today gives us. But as of right now, it's super small, super slow. And again, on MLGO, if you are looking at the pullback entries off of VWAP, just be keeping an eye on that there. I'm currently in at 449, seeing if I can't get a move back up into the 460s. And again, just about a quarter size right now, so not taking too much size on this in the slightest. But either way, I want to see what it can do. So like I said, the curls off of VWAP has the range back up into the 5s there, but again, only a quarter size. To see what that wants to do. Again, just scaling out in the strength as you do get it. So far, up about 80 cents a share. And if I can get it to about 10 cents a share, then I'll probably cut a good portion of it off and just let it ride into the bell. Let's see what else we have though, gapper wise. CORZ. We looked at earlier in the morning. Wasn't too much of a fan. I played it. I believe CORZ was the one that, yeah, CORZ was the loss. I took a break even, then I took a loss on it. And just couldn't really get it to go in my direction. So it's one of those that just doesn't trade too friendly. I saw some heavy accumulation in the 660s, 670s, and so I was like, okay, this thing's getting soaked up under VWAP. So I took it, and those buyers just failed to kind of come through for me. So just one of those is what it is type things again. So we're gonna have to sit back and wait. But I don't like CORZ. I don't like it at all. So I'll be leaving that one alone. So let's see what else we've got to work with here. FGEN, I'm not a fan of. Now, I've got a lot of setups on the nightly watch list that I actually like quite a bit for the day, so that's going to help us a ton today. As far as pre-market gappers and anything new, there's not really too much of, but everything that we're looking at for more of like a continuation style setup, there's actually quite a few setups that I really enjoy. So I'm hoping those meet criteria today. Yesterday, we had a lot of setups too on the nightly watch list, but nothing really met criteria, so we couldn't really do much, we couldn't really do a whole lot. So again, it's just one of those things. And on MLGO here, I'm going to go ahead and take out a half of my position to de-risk the trade, by the way. Again, I'm taking a half out of MLGO at 463 here to de-risk the trade at 467. So far, about $100 on MLGO. So, back to tiny green on the day, but at least able to make a few bucks here. See if this can't head higher into the open. I only had about a quarter size here. So we'll see what this wants to do, but already at 475 now. And again, planning to hopefully have a pretty good day today as long as we can get some follow through on this. I've got a third left now in MLGO. Again, I've got a third left now in MLGO. And so far, a nice trade. Panning out just how we wanted it to off of the pullbacks to view out there at 424. That lets you guys know that I was in there at 449, and thankfully we're getting that move now up into the 480s. So again, just a third left, super, super tiny, almost pretty much a quarter left at this point. But I didn't have much size to begin with, so I only had about 500 shares. I wanted 1,000 shares, but, you know, again, super, super slow out there, so I'm not looking to do too much right now, at least. Otherwise, I risk going into the open a little bit too deep in the red, and then at that point, it's hard to really execute properly the rest of the day. So that's why I take quarter size in pre-market too. For one, obviously, there's lesser liquidity in pre-market, which can add some risk to the trades. Obviously, there's no hard stops in pre-market either, so that also adds some risk to the trades. But the biggest part for me is like a mental thing, to where if you go into the bell and you took, you know, 2 or 3 large losses in pre-market, or just normal size losses, you'd call it in pre-market, you know, it just skews your mentality for the rest of the day, and you have this like, you know, you need to dig yourself out to kind of approach the rest of the day, and it can really be dangerous. Stops raising on MLGO to entry at 449. So this is now a risk-free trade. I'll see what it wants to do. But again, it's a risk-free trade. Worst case, I'll make about $100. At least tack on a few dollars before they open. Let's see what she wants to do here. Best case, I make an additional, you know, $100, but we'll see what it wants to do. You know, as tempting as it is to take the larger size in pre-market, in a hotter market, would I maybe take a little bit larger size, like a third or a half? It's potential, but in a slow market like this, whenever the pre-market's super, super dead, I mean, I usually stick to about a quarter size just because there's not any real great opportunity. I'll try and put myself out there a little bit and take some risks in pre-market sometimes because these gappers will oftentimes make some pretty large moves, and that can help your risk to reward. So, you know, by taking a quarter size, I at least have, you know, I have something on the table there to try and, you know, get something on the day. And at least having some minor cushion is better than having nothing into the bell. And if, you know, I go into the open small red, it's still manageable. So in this case here on MLGO, though, it's completely risk-free. My entry is 449, and my stop loss is now 449 as well, with about a quarter of my position left after taking profits up there at the highs. So we shall see what it wants to do, but as of right now, just sitting here waiting with a very small position left. Pretty much just runners to see where this wants to go as we do head closer to the bell, which we have about 20 minutes until. But so far, 449 to about 480 on MLGO. He caught a huge move on it from 340 to 520, but felt like he chased and didn't have a plan. So you're saying it felt like he chased and didn't have a plan. Did you have a plan, or is that like a certain answer you're giving me there? Like you knew it was a chase and you didn't have a plan, or I'm confused. You said you feel like it. Like, right, you either have a plan or you don't, you know? You either have a plan or you don't. It's important though. You can't get too sloppy. I know it's, you know, hard not to. Got to come in and just do the same thing every day. So Amy, just biggest thing for you. If you didn't have a plan, you did chase it a little bit, just don't forget all the progress you've made. Do not give it back over a simple little chase like that. Both mentally and monetarily, don't give it back. But anywho, we'll see what this wants to do. I barely have any size left. Literally well, not even a quarter. Probably about a fifth left of what I did start with. But either way, easy about $130 right now. And we'll see if it does want to head higher. But either way, it's risk-free. So again, I've got about a fifth left at 480. Just to let this go and see where it wants to go. Like I said, best case, I'll make an additional 100. So I'll be out with maybe $250 total, depending on where this does end up. But again, only have minor size. I think I was maybe risking, let's see, we had how much risk per share here? About 25 cents per share of risk. So I wasn't even risking close to not even $100. So I've already made well more than I was risking. And again, just sizing smaller than of course we usually would. So we'll see where it wants to go. And then we'll finish looking through some gappers, which there's not very many of, which is why I'm sitting here just watching this MLGO win here from our 449 entry. There's just not much else moving, so it's like, okay, I'll just sit here with some runners and see where it wants to go. Maybe I make some more money, maybe I don't. But at least we'll go back into the open extremely small green. And at least make today a bit more manageable. Hopefully we have better opportunities than yesterday. Yesterday we actually had some good afternoon trades. Like yesterday morning, there was like nothing. We sat here all morning. We took some scalps back and forth. We would have a win, we'd have a loss, we'd have a win, we'd have a loss, and it ended up just sideways. Afternoon came along and we had some pretty big wins. And I hate that because obviously I don't want to have to play catch up in the afternoons, and we shouldn't have to. But on days like yesterday, we just happened to get blessed in the afternoon, and you know, all worked out. This looks like it wants to get new highs here. Here's 490 now testing. Previous highs. Can we get the break? Here we go. Here's $5 testing. I'm going to sell a few more shares up here. Just hold some runners, guys. Selling some more up here at the 490s, and I'm just going to hold some runners. 493 was able to fill some more shares out there. Here's 496 and 497. I've got 10% left now, just runners, guys. Again, I've got 10% left, just runners. Just runners left at 490 to see if we can get up through the highs here. But a nice trade so far, and it's working out pretty well for the pullback off of VWAP to play this range that we talked about. Back up to $5 a share, and we just got that. So about $150 of profit overall in this trade. And at least that does give us some cushion to take into the open. I do want to see what this last bit wants to do. And I'm actually going to raise my stop loss on this to, should I keep it at entry at 450? We might do it at 450 still. Yeah, let's keep it at 450. I don't want to keep it too tight. You know, at that point, you're just keeping it too tight for no reason. Here's 498, trying to test the $5 level. If we can get through 5, we might get the move up to 570s, and at least I'll be able to tack on an extra 50 bucks. Which, again, I know seems so minuscule, but it at least helps. Every dollar helps going into the rest of the day as far as cushion goes. Plus, we had hardly any risk and have already made well above what we were risking in this trade. $5 testing on the break here at 501. You did, Chase. You were lucky. Okay, yeah, just don't do that. Like I said, you've made so much progress over the last couple of months. There's no reason to give that back over a little, impulsive decision like that. All it takes is one trade to give everything back. That's it. Stops in place at 460, guys. And again, entry was at 449. Only have 10% left with a stop above entry. So just holding some runners. Super, super tiny. If we can just crack over the 510, we've got clear range to 550 and 580. Looking at the daily here as well, yeah, up to 580. Over 580, you've got clear range into the 6s as well. So we'll have to see where this wants to go. Again, we've got a stop loss above entry and only about 10% left. So it's risk-free, guaranteed profit. But if we can make that move at least, then we can tack on, an extra 50, 60 bucks onto this already pretty nice little trade. And we've got about 14 minutes until the bell as well. Let me know in the chat if you guys were able to play this with me here on MLGO, guys. So far, $4.49 to about $5 on MLGO. Only had about 500 shares in the trade. $503s, $504s testing here, and I want to see the break of 510. I wouldn't add anything back. You know, the issue with this is I've had such small size. You know, I can't really add anything back and still keep my core low enough to make it, you know, to make it a logical thing to do. So I'm not going to add. I'm just going to let this ride and see if I can get some new highs on my runners here. Here we go. Here's 512, 520, trying to break to the upside here. Yeah, we should be able to make a few more bucks. Sold a few more shares at 517 and 520. Right now, just kind of scaling out the strength up here, and so far about $178 on the trade. And just selling and selling and selling until we are eventually out. I'm raising my stops as well to 480. Stop loss has been raised to $4.80. Again, stops have been raised to $4.80 on MLGO. Whatever you do, don't chase it. We had an awesome entry here off of VWAP with the curl back up into its upper range from pre-market. And we've already got that move here, so we're pretty much at our targets. Some of y'all caught it good. This is a really nice setup as well. So again, right now stop loss is about 30 cents above the entry price. I barely have anything left. Less than 10% of my position is left. Just to see what it wants to do. Hopefully we can tack on some more dollars. Here's 520 testing now as well. Some sellers off that 515, which we see back here from about 7 o'clock. Now, aside from this trade, though, we do have a lot of stuff on the nightly watch list. I don't think we've got too much more as far as our pre-market gappers go, so we'll have to keep a look on the, I guess, keep our eyes on the scanner out of the open and see if those gappers do set up better, I guess, into the open. But as of right now, there's not too many that I love. MLGO is obviously the best gapper that we've got right now. It looks decent. It's got some nice range up into the upper fives and into the mid sixes. So that's going to be my top watch as of right now into the bell. Here's 520 testing again. We might get new highs on it, so I can hopefully tack on some more profits and just try and get a few more dollars of cushion on the table here as we do head into the open. Because right now we're back to small green on the day after MLGO. You were in at 459. That's a little bit of a higher entry. A little bit high. Just from a mere risk to reward perspective, it's a little high. Little misprint there down to 403. Those things will always just make your, you know, butt pucker up a little bit. You get a misprint down that's like, you know, a whole dollar a share. And it's like, oh snap, what just happened? Can't stand it. Thankfully, trade ideas, I just have to look over and it filters out those orders. So I look over and there's no knife over there. I'm like, okay, it's just a misprint. But Webull does not filter out the orders and it is so annoying. So you get all those misprints showing up and it can really get to you. And Van, I've not gone over the nightly watch list yet. Trying to get out of this MLGO first, then we will. But they're on the nightly watch list, so if you guys want to go over the nightly watch list, you can just click on the stock watch list channel and pull them all up right there. All of the plans are right over there. All I'll be doing is just repeating what's on that list. 520 is breaking 525 here now. 530. Selling some more shares up here. And I'm just trying to get out of this thing here just before the open. 525s. And again, up about $200 on this total now from start to finish. Nothing crazy, but a nice little start to the day to hopefully aid in my execution after the bell. And big sellers off the 530. Right below pre-market highs. Will I be looking at another entry? Probably not. We'll see. If it holds over 4.8, maybe. I only had 500 shares, Josh. So had about 500 shares. I was risking about 100 bucks, a little bit less than 100 bucks I was risking, and so far about 200. Barely have anything left though. Small size? Yeah, small size. I always am in pre-market, always about a quarter. We talked about it earlier. The reason why is more of a mental thing. You go into the open, you don't want to have a big red trade in pre-market that just screws you up for the rest of the day. Equally, there's obviously more risk with no stop losses and more risk with lesser liquidity as well. So there's just a lot that goes into it. Why I'm not a fan of taking too much size in pre-market. As long as you keep it consistent, you take your smaller size in pre-market consistently every day. It doesn't throw off the averages at all. It's all about doing the same thing every day. So I use normal size and normal hours, and then of course in pre-market and after hours, typically a quarter or a third size. Now the difference between a quarter and a third really just depends on the market. If we have a lot of opportunity that looks great, I'll probably use about a third. If we've got a lot of illiquid, so-so setups, if I want to be a part of it, I might use a quarter. But for the most part, I'll just leave it alone. But again, the nightly watch list, let me actually get it pulled up and I'll at least type it up on my notepad here. For the most part, all you've got to do is look at the list and everything that's on there is still valid for today. So looking over here real quick, we've got a lot of setups from the previous day that I still like. So let's see, top watch is into open. We've got NVOS to watch today over 142. We've got INSM to watch today, again, off dips, off 49.10. We've got NVAX, which is one of my favorite setups for today, honestly, to watch off of 1770. One of my favorite setups of the day. We've got ASTS to watch off of dips as well over 790. I might do a 785 to give it some breathing room. But in any case, another pullback entry. So we've got ASTS, we've got NVAX, we've got INSM, we've got NVOS. So we've got 4 primary setups that I'm watching. I also want to look at MLGO after the bell too. As long as it holds over 480, it's a really nice look. So again, as long as it holds over that 480, it's a really nice look for possible re-entry after the open. But the entry in pre-market this morning was so fire. I mean, it doesn't really get much easier. And if you guys did miss it this morning, it's just that important that you guys do tune into the stream at the right time because you never know. You never know when there's going to be opportunity. And there wasn't much risk here at all. I think I was maybe risking roughly 75 or 80 bucks here. And like I said, already up close to about 200 bucks. So able to make a little bit more than 2x what I was risking. And so at least starting the day with a little bit of cushion. And like I mentioned, as long as this holds over the 480, I don't mind playing this into the bell. We'll just have to see what it wants to do here. Only have about 5% left of my position, a little bit less than 5, or more than 5%, about 6.5%. So I had 500 shares to start. I'm down to 30 shares now, just seeing what it wants to do into the open. And if anything, I'll make an extra 30 bucks. So will be a total of about 230 bucks if it does go to my 580 range up here. Was 453 high? I mean, it's 1% higher than my entry. I wouldn't say that's a, total letdown of an entry. I feel like that's okay. Anything higher, I feel like could be a problem, yeah. Anything higher. But no, 453 is good. Anything above 455, I feel like you're just chasing at that point, but no, that's good. You just got to think more from like a risk to reward standpoint. We had risk all the way down there at about 425. So once you start to get up into, and I'll look real quick at the entry here. Let's say you have a 466 entry risking 425, which was my risk. You have already the difference between, for me, for example, my entry, I had a 6 to 1 risk to reward, which is massive. Now, just by taking an entry, 15 cents higher at 465, you have a 2.8 to 1 risk to reward. So it's a massive difference in risk to reward, which is why entry is so key. And that really is going to change the game massively long term for you. So it's a really big difference. I know it seems so minuscule. You're like, what's 10 cents going to matter? But it makes a huge difference. I mean, 6 to 1 risk to reward versus 2.8 to 1 at best, it's a huge difference. Praveen, NVOS above 142. Yes, entry on that is above 142. I highly doubt that we play that today, but I do like it if it does break. It just, it doesn't look like it's going to get there today. If it does, I like it. So after the open, if this does hold up over the 480, I might look to add back some size to this. I'm not going to add back anything more than what I initially had. Don't want to make it to where it's not a risk-free trade. So I'll probably add small back after the open on a pullback as long as we hold over 480. And I would say max risk here that it needs to hold above is more of like 470. As long as it holds over that 470, it's a good look. But we'll see what it wants to do here. But I would like to add back potentially to try and maximize our profits here because it has the range to about 5.8 and 640. And of course, we're breaking the downtrend here from pre-market too. So we'll see if it can hold out of the open and possibly add back on a flush if it does look to hold over that 470. So again, watch for this to hold over the 470 on MLGO. We have about 2 minutes into the bell. Let's see what happens. Those of you on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, we just caught an awesome trade with you guys on here this morning on MLGO from 449 to about 530 and up nicely now about $200 of profit on MLGO. So, small win there. Had super small size with only 500 shares, but it is pre-market. So, of course, risking less than I usually would in, of course, normal hour. So, good luck today. I'll see you guys later. Hopefully, you guys have a great day as well today. And good luck. Happy trading. Be responsible. Catch you guys later. All right. So let's see. We have less than a minute to go.